Well, good morning. It is good to see you all. How's everybody doing today? Good. All right, we got to wake up here real quick. All right, who is glad to be in the house of the Lord today? Let me hear you. We got to wake up. It is good to be in the house of the Lord. I'm glad that you all are here. And all right, here's the thing. I think God is going to move, and even the services already that we've had today, it's been awesome to see what God has been up to. I'm working hard, so I believe He's going to move even here today with you, whether you're watching online or join us in a service. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's time to hear a word from the Lord. Time to hear a word from the Lord. All right, let's do it. All right, before we jump into this brand new series, I know this Oklahoma boy, I'm used to people responding, so we're going to wake you up a little bit. Before we jump into this series, I just have a couple announcements real quick. We have another Discover Trinity class coming up. Boy, we're just doing them faster and faster, which is awesome. Starts next week. So if you are, curious about the church, what the mission, vision, values are, where we're going, why we're going there, the greater movement as a whole, we have some really cool things that Trinity is a part of across the greater Indianapolis area, and even further, some neat things are taking place. If you want to learn about that, come to Discover Trinity. Next week, we'll be starting another class. In fact, there's the person that leads it. Discover Trinity next week, right? Hi, thanks for interrupting my service. No, I'm just kidding. For those that don't know, that part, that's my wife, so I might be in trouble now. Love you, dear. I'm glad you're in this service. It's great to see you. No, we're going to be jumping in today. So today we begin a brand new series called Beyond the Daily Grind. I'm excited about this. Over the last couple of years, my team, of course, we continually do this. I do, at least, and we talk about this. We go back over the decision cards that are turned in. Of course, we have a number of campuses across the greater Indianapolis area, and we get literally, over the course of a few years, you'll get thousands of decision cards turned in. And so we mine through that information, and we're trying to figure out where are people at, what are they struggling with, and how can we speak to that. And one of the main themes that came to the surface this last summer when we were going through them all again was, work is hard. And it is interesting to me, listening to conversations we've had or reading through things that you have turned in. Work is a struggle. We are trying to figure it out. What we want to do is spend a series leading into the holidays offering a really healthy theology of work. What is a good theology of work? So to begin this, jumping into this, we call the series Beyond the Daily Grind. Jumping into this new series, I went to one of the primary sources of truth for every good millennial. I went to Google. And I Googled work, just curious what would pop up. And I thought, the first things that show up in Google, I'm going to share them with you. And don't worry, I have good, safe search filters on my computer. Nothing bad popped up. But I did have a couple of memes that came up right away when I typed in work into Google. I thought I'd share a few of these with y'all. See, that's the Oklahoma again too, y'all. All right, so here we go. Anybody here fan of the show The Office? All right, The Office, here we go. So here we go. When people ask, a Google search for work, this is what popped up. When people ask how I handle this job, I'm dead inside. So maybe that's you, like I'm dead inside, I'm barely making this. All right, one more, or we got two more here, next one. All right, so what about this? You think I'm crazy, you should meet my workmates. I love that little girl's face, that's awesome. I had to adapt to my surroundings. So maybe that's you work with a bunch of crazy people, that's good. Or what about this one? Just look at that kid, that's enough. Honestly, that kid is just amazing to me. I'm not even sure where to go with this. Like, I wonder what's actually happening in this meme. Like, so is this a boy, girl? I'm not even entirely sure. Like, but this child is like terrified of that bubble. Is that what's happening? I don't know. Is there like a monster or maybe spider? Saw a spider and just freaks out. Maybe this kid just really loves a donut, and somebody up here is like, "Want a donut?" I have no idea. Whatever's driving the little guy, I love the meme. Me leaving work on Friday. I am out of here. I am out of here. No matter what you do, when you pour through the different, the different things, whether you're reading like articles, even some of the stuff that came up on Google, it was like the how to make work for you. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen these things on YouTube, where it's like, man, sign up for our program today. We can teach you how to use Amazon, and you can make 6 figures with our program. We'll set you, like all kinds of stuff came up when you typed in work. But there was one common theme with all of it. You ready? It's really clear when you Google this and you look at it. People think that work is bad. There you go. People think that work is bad. That's the implication. All the memes that popped up, all the pictures that popped up, all the articles that popped up, all the self-help stuff that popped up, everything that popped up, the TED Talks that popped up, everything that popped up made this, without saying it directly, making this implication that people think that work is bad. I want to offer a different idea, and we're going to spend this whole next series, not just today, but the whole next series unpacking this. What if work itself isn't evil? I mean, right, like God works in Genesis 1:1. Or what about this? Before sin entered the world, there was work assigned to humanity, Genesis 2:15. So like, even in the creation of the world, in the Genesis account, when it all comes into being, right? God shapes the world, it's formless and void. Then He creates all stuff, material, boundaries. Then He brings the world and sets the stars in place. All this stuff happens, and then He raises man up from the dust of the ground and breathes life into him. And before sin enters the world, man is given a job. How can work be evil? Or what about this? In the heavens, there is work. John 5:17. I mean, like even in the Bible, you see things like Jesus is going to prepare a place for us. He is going to do work. I mean, the implication is really clear. We're going to spend the whole series unpacking this. Are you ready? So hang on to this. If you're a note taker, you can write down at least this last sentence. Work is not the curse. Work was cursed. Genesis 3:17 through 19. Work is not the curse. Work was cursed. Genesis 3:17 through 19. All right, let's do this. Let's begin a theology of work. Let's begin creating a healthy theology of work by going all the way back and looking at our origin story, creation. Genesis 1:1 through 2. Now, I actually have a really bad dad joke for you. You thought I'd forget it on a Sunday. I got one for you. I got a really bad dad joke. All right, you ready for this? Does anyone know the first time in the Bible baseball is mentioned? In the beginning, there it was, right? Big inning, beginning. Oh, everybody loves a dad joke. I love dad jokes. I know you hate them. Somebody's going to leave the church over that. So here we go. Genesis 1:1 through 2 says this. In the beginning, in the big inning, God created baseball and determined that the St. Louis Cardinals would be the best team ever. Oh, I'm just kidding. I didn't get a boo in this service. I did in some of the others. That's all right. Genesis 1:1 through 2 says this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The heavens were without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Okay, we're going to have to do this morning to really set a great foundation for a right theology of work. I have to get a little nerdy. Now, those that know me well. I grew up in an awesome home with parents that were college professors. I loved my education, undergrad, grad school, all the way through. One of my favorite things to study is linguistics. I love language work. It's fun to go back and tear apart Greek or Hebrew. I so enjoy that. I mean, even post all of my education, I have enjoyed going back and studying Hebrew and what it means in historical context, especially the ancient Hebrew prophetic literature has been so intriguing to me. I love that stuff. And so we got to spend a few minutes to really understand the significance of what's happening in this opening account of Genesis creation account and how work plays into it. We've got to do just a little nerdy work. All right, so turn to your neighbor and say, it's time to nerd out. It's time to nerd out. It's time to nerd out. We're going to nerd out right now, baby. Turn your brains on. Here we go. There are 3 real phrases that we're going to work on. First one is the one create. Then we're going to look at the idea of formless and void in Hebrew, and then we're going to look at the word God that's used in this opening text. Now, before we get into this, I need to explain just a little bit. There is a historical significance to the Pentateuch and the opening lines of the Bible. So the Pentateuch, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Remember, those that are new, this might be a reminder for those that have been in the church for a long time, the Bible is not a book. It is a collection of letters and books. And it was penned over thousands of years. So, many years transpired from a whole lot of different authors from different parts of the world were all pulled together and then canonized in this collection of literature that we call the Bible. It is not a book. It really is, by definition, a library. It's a little mini library that you carry around. Now it's on your phone, right? You get this little mini library. And the opening collection of books, the opening little sub-library is called the Pentateuch. And then you have like the Torah and the Tanakh, and you've got and all kinds of wisdom literature. You work your way through it. But in the Pentateuch, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, that was the first book that our Judeo-Christian forefathers hung on to. And what happened is, during this penning, for those that have studied it, in my undergrad, I studied philosophy and religion. So I didn't just study only Christianity, I studied religions in plural before I did seminary. And for those that study this, you're going to know it, but in ancient Mesopotamian religions had very similar creation accounts. I find that incredibly intriguing. I love that. But there is a unique thing that's found in the Pentateuch. Okay, now, all the other accounts answer, where did we come from? The Pentateuch is penned differently in Hebrew. It answers, why did we come from it? Not just what, but why did we come? And if you could go back in time, or if I could take the time with you this morning, I don't have time to do it, and I could lay out other ancient Mesopotamian creation accounts and we could compare them all, you would see that the Genesis account really is written almost like romantic literature. And I don't mean like a modern romance novel. I mean literally like literary romance, right? So if you're a literary romantic, like I consider myself to be when I don't like romance literature, but I just did in church. Is that okay? I don't know. Not that, but I love romantic type of literature, right? So in this, you see Genesis, and it is honestly an incredible love story. And it is unique in its ancient Mesopotamian accounts in that it answers the why we came from it. Not just where do we come from, God, but why we came from Him. With this in mind, let's take apart the word create. Now remember the historical context, ancient Mesopotamian culture, hearing the why, and it's very romantic in its wording. The Hebrew word for create is actually the word bara. Everybody say bara. Bara. There, your Hebrew scholars, degree given. I can't actually do that, just that was fun. The Hebrew word for create, bara, is used in the Old Testament to refer to divine activity only. Yahweh, which is what we translate God in this opening account, Yahweh alone serves as the grammatical subject. So when you see the word bara, it is only tied to the word Yahweh. Next. Implying the writer wanted to emphasize that people cannot create in the same way that Yahweh creates, and that no other God can claim to be the creator. The verb bara also conveys the idea of ordering or determining function, suggesting God's creative activity consists of bringing proper order and function to the cosmos. Okay, so let me continue. Again, you got to hang with me for just a few minutes because this is important to lay the foundation for a right theology of work. What's happening here is God is creating at a meta level. And then think of it like a funnel. So God creates the meta, the larger things, and then humanity is actually called. So God's work is to create these boundaries. He makes something. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then He gives to us the capacity to sub-create, and that is our work. That is the main thing that you were asked to do, is an order bringer at the meta level, and you are going to become an order bringer at a smaller level. There's a funnel taking place. All right, with that in mind, let's move to the next idea. So formless and void. The Hebrew terms used here, tohu and bohu, describe material substance lacking boundary, order, or definition. Now, what this means is God literally, so imagine this in your mind. This is hard to do, but imagine nothing, just void, darkness. I don't know if you've ever been in a room. This happened to me a number of years ago. I was touring. I like to do a little spelunking with my children. It's fun to go explore caves. And a number of years ago, we were down in Mammoth National Cave. Everybody been down there? And we made our way all the way down and just like the belly of the earth. It felt like I was in Lord of the Rings or something, right? And you get all the way down there, follow the trail. They're telling the story of how this is all put together and how they ran wires down here, how the first explorers used nothing but a candle, if you've ever done this. And then you go all the way down to this one room, way, 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 way deep under the earth. And the guy goes, there was an early explorer whose candle went out. And it was all he had. And I just want to show you what it would be like to be under here with nothing. And so he turned off the lights. Nobody in our group said a word. It's so quiet. And like for the first, 2 or 3 seconds, people are like, and then it's like, and then it gets really quiet. And the weight and thought of being like hundreds of feet under the ground and not knowing where, literally just the void, that sense. And when you can't see, it really does, there's stuff all around you, but the sense is that there's nothing all around you, and it's terrifying. And so like the way this is pinned is literally there is a nothing. In fact, we have this like Latin phrase that gets pulled out of this, right? That is the ex nihilo, out of nothing. God is the only one that can create. So God speaks into the nothingness and he makes stuff. But he doesn't just make stuff. The Hebrew words there are that God makes stuff and he creates material things and then he gives it boundary and order and structure, right? So this is what it is. He creates material and then he creates cosmological constants. This is literally what the Hebrew says. He creates the rules that everything have to follow. Now, for those that have studied like any level into like, you get into like astrophysics or whatever, you know that there are things that are called the cosmological constants. High and low nuclear, electromagnetism, gravity. You have these things that are constants. They are laws that govern absolutely everything. We don't just have material things. We have cosmological constants precisely tuned to hold everything in order. And if one of those goes off, everything falls apart. If gravity was to go off, everything would just start to drift apart, right? If electromagnetism stopped at a very small level inside of every cell, right? You have the electron, neutron all going together. I love studying this stuff. And then in a moment, in an instant, it would go off. If that law turned off, everything would just stop. And so we have God made not just material things. The Hebrew says he also created a few boundary-keeping laws that everything has to operate within. He creates the systems. Then we come across this word God, and it's important that we unpack this too. So with all this in mind, let's keep working through it. The word God in Hebrew is Elohim. Say that with me, Elohim. There you go. Elohim is actually plural in Hebrew. Elohim is plural, but the word for create is singular. So Elohim bara, a good Hebrew student would know that we have a plural coming together of God, and he is doing one singular thing, creating. Now, this is really important because, again, if you go back to ancient Mesopotamian religions and then you follow their trajectory through and you come to like Greco-Roman gods and their history and you follow like Norse gods and their history, I love all that stuff. I studied it all. I so enjoy it. And when you study this, you find that most of those accounts of creation have humanity and earth and all of this coming out of chaos. So it's literally like war. The gods are at war, like the titans going at each other, and like humanity is this like accidental subset thing that comes along, and humanity's like this weak little creature trying to pie for attention from the gods in like the Greco-Roman world and like whatever. You have these different, whether it's Rome or Greco-Roman or Norse, whatever, you have all these gods. So they're like, pay attention. The humans are like, pay attention to me, and it's all this tension and fighting that happens in their history. And what you have in the ancient Pentateuch is romance. The Father, Son, this is charitable love and community, the Trinity, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, working as one to create a world of charitable love and order. Think of marriage. Think of making babies. That's weird to say in church. And so I remember like when Leslie's in this service, I've been teaching all morning long at different services and locations, right? When we got married, year 2000, right? We're coming up on 20 years, baby. The kids, that's where the gray hair went. Or that's where the gray hair came in. That's what brought the gray hair, right? The kids. But I remember the day that we got married. I remember being down there in Oklahoma. Y'all pay attention to what I'm about to say. Being in Oklahoma. I remember standing there on the stage with my wife. And I remember making that pact, that promise with her. Better or worse, sickness and health, right? I remember looking deep into her eyes and thinking, man, all these couples out there, they fight, they have issues, but our love is pure, baby. We're not going to fight. I don't even know where to go from that scene. You're in this service. I got to stop the illustration. But like I'm sitting there and I'm falling in love and we're making these statements to each other. We're connecting. It's awesome. And then we are two people that come together. And as we fall in love, we come together and we have an act, right? So Mike and Leslie hover over the depths of the waters and life is created. Here comes Noah. And Mike and Leslie hover over the land and there comes Nate. And Mike and Leslie, we come together. I mean, this is a love story. It's not like the other creation accounts. And for somebody that loves the history of this, where it's war and fighting and vicious and intense and chaos. And the Pentateuch creation, speaking in that day and age to those ancient Mesopotamian cultures, it is a love story where there's a coming together of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And as they come together, man, and they work as that beautiful relationship comes together over the depths of the waters, deep in the ocean, life springs forth. And when that loving relationship comes together over the land, what happens? Birds form and life comes out. And when that loving creation comes together over the earth, out of the sand, the dust of the earth, He raises up humanity and He breathes life into it. This is a love story. What does this mean for you? You need to know, as followers of God, you need to know that your origin story is an amazing, loving family. Oh, my friends, right now you may have a broken home. You may be from a broken home. You may have had a daddy that abandoned you when you were little. You may have had a mama that struggled with drug addictions and fought all the way. You need to know, though this little temporary family may be very broken and hard from you, you need to know your real origin story is an amazing love relationship. And your longing to have a real family is a longing ancient, deeply rooted in your bones. Because somewhere deep inside you, you know I was not made for chaos. I was made from family, and I want it back. That's the work of God in you. That's your origin story. The Pentateuch, the beginning of this, is a gorgeous love story. That's where you're from. That's where you're from. Create, formless void, God. What does this all mean for us? Here we go. God creates all the stuff, right? God, Elohim. Elohim is bara. God creates. In the void, He speaks and material things come into being. He speaks and the laws and structure and order come into place that hold everything together. God speaks and creates all the stuff. Then God gives it boundary and order and definition. And it is in this state that He gives it to man to continue to sub-create. All right, we're going to get into the guts of this for about 5 minutes of what this means. I'm not going to be able to finish all these ideas today. You got to keep coming. We're going to keep unpacking the theology, a theology of work. What is the right theology of work? So a couple things, what this means from us, something we can draw from it even here this morning quick. The first thing is this. The first thing we learn about God is His community, right? This isn't a war. It's not tension. It's not a fight. This is a loving relationship hovering over the depths of the water, and life is born. I mean, you got to understand, a really great God-honoring marriage is like a little itty-bitty glimpse into what God intends, right? Community. It's about God and his community. It is about purpose and intention for humanity, meaningful work. God spoke into the void, and there was work, right? He did work. He created. And then when man comes onto the planet, he gives us a job. We are to work. The next thing leads to the next thought, which would be this. Our main objective, and I'm kind of make this modern now, us apply it here. Our main objective isn't really to make money. It's not. Our main objective really isn't to gain power or beat others. That's not our main objective. Our main objective is to bring the nature of God into chaos. God spoke into the void. Now, think this through for just a moment. God did not lack purpose and meaning, and he looked into the void to find it. He brought purpose and meaning into the void. Do you see it? Jesus wasn't up in heaven. We mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Jesus wasn't up in heaven, and he's like, shucks, I don't have anything to do. I don't know what my purpose is. These jobs up in heaven, it's not fulfilling. He didn't come down to this planet and start engaging with humanity because Jesus was looking for his purpose. No, Jesus had his purpose, and he brought purpose into the chaos. Jesus wasn't looking for purpose from us. He brought purpose to us. God wasn't looking for purpose from the void. He brought purpose to the void. And if we subcreate in the same order and structure and manner as God instituted things, that means that you are subcreators too. Let this settle in. Right now, if you are a plumber, you get to bring order to some chaos. If you're a mama, and you got 2- and 3-year-olds at home, I promise, those babies, they're not order bringers yet. I've had them in my home, and I got one left. They're good at chaos. You bring order into it. If you're a lawyer, you look into a situation where there is chaos, there is mess, and you want to bring right order to it. If you are an accountant, and you love spreadsheets, God bless you, you love spreadsheets. You need to know that you can bring order into those spreadsheets and numbers. Listen, if you help people with their finances and you're looking at somebody's, whatever it is, their budget, and it's a total mess and a wreck, you bring order into it. You don't find your purpose from the mess, you bring purpose to it. You bring purpose to it. Jesus didn't find his purpose from humanity. He brought God's purpose to humanity. God didn't find his purpose from the void. He brought purpose to the void. If you're a medical doctor, or you work in health, or you're a nurse, and you walk into a room, and that person is sick and their body is not working, you know what you're to do? You're to bring order and purpose to that broken body. We are all doing the sub-work of God. And that is not evil. Couple things from this, right? As we keep unpacking this a little forward, you are an order bringer. You have been called to be an order bringer. Let me say this again. Work was not the curse. Work was not the curse. Work was cursed. Work was not the curse. Work was cursed. It is truly toil. It truly is toil for us now. And so those of you that have been in the work world long enough, you know that entropy, decay of things, the world is broken. I mean, there really is a curse, and we work and we work and we work, and it is truly toil. The curse is not the work. Work was cursed. I'm going to invite Josh up, and we're going to bring conclusion to some of this here. I want to speak to all of those people, all the people out there that are unsatisfied. You're unsatisfied. Again, all the response cards that we see, we pay very close attention to where you are, what's going on in your life. We pray for you. I read through the cards. When you say, pray for my mom, we pray for your mom. I mean, our staff gets together on Tuesdays. I think it's Tuesday mornings. Got to remember, I just kind of run through my week fast. Tuesday mornings, and we pray through the cards. Different campuses do. I pray for them. We pray for you. Our staff prays over these. And I feel, I've sat in those times of prayer, and I get emotional as I read through the things that you share with us. I get emotional. Because I do care a lot. For you, I care a lot. And I objectively know that one of the main things that you all wrestle with is your work. I know this. I know that there are people out there right now that are massively unsatisfied. And you're praying, God, change my job. Change my situation. Change my babies. Give me new kids. These ones are driving me nuts, Jesus. Right, whatever it is. I get it. You are in spots where it is hard and you would love to be rescued from the chaos. I know that you wrestle with it because I've wept and prayed with you. I want to speak to all the people that are unsatisfied. I'm a pastor, and I go through seasons where I'm unsatisfied. If I'm being honest, I sit down with some of the missionaries that we've even sent. They say things like, Mike, I've worked so hard for the last few years and it's just, I don't feel like it's making ground. It's hard. Our missionaries, I've wept with missionaries who are very unsatisfied. See, I think there's a false assumption. The assumption is that if you can find the right job, like you can go out there, we talked about this a couple weeks ago too, you go out there and like hiding under some rock or behind some door, if you can find that one job and step into it, like everything's going to come into place, right? If you can find that person and get in that right marriage, it's all going to come into place. If you can get that degree, if you can just figure out hiding somewhere out there under some rock, behind some bush, somewhere is like the perfect fulfilled you, and you just got to keep searching for it. The assumption is if you find it, it will make you whole. I think what you want out of work or a marriage, right, job, education, whatever, I think what you want out of it, you ready? Here it is. It can't give you. It can't do it. I've been reading a book lately called Ordering Your Private World by Gordon MacDonald. Anybody ever read that? I read it back when I was doing my undergrad, but I've been thumbing back through it again. Anybody ever read the book Ordering Your Private World? It's awesome. There's a few. It's a really interesting book, and I've thumbed back through it again here lately. And in it, those that have read it will know this, there are two kinds of people that he kind of opens the book with. The driven man and the called man. The driven man and the called man. This is the driven man. The driven man, I got a definition. I'm summing it up. This is not from the book. I'm just kind of summing up the idea. The driven man is searching for something that can make him feel whole. So the driven man is, on the outside, the called and driven man look the same. So like the driven man is searching. He's looking for success to make him feel whole. He's looking for power to make him feel whole. He's looking for money, more money, that will maybe make him feel whole. He's looking for material things or influence. You might even be looking for effectiveness in your work. If I can be really effective and good at it, then I'll feel whole. You might even be looking for retirement as maybe the thing that will finally make you feel whole. And so you're searching under every bush, looking as hard as you can, trying to find the thing that makes your heart complete. You're a driven man. Gordon MacDonald makes the case that driven people that are always searching, they have one thing in common that never leaves them. They're unsatisfied. And they don't have peace. You're trying to do the opposite of what God did and what Jesus did. You're looking into the chaos and you're going, chaos, please give me purpose and meaning. You're looking into your job and going, job or degree or title, please give me purpose or meaning. You're, instead of being Jesus bringing purpose to brokenness, you're like coming onto this planet and looking at broken people and being, please make me feel whole and complete. You want to find your purpose and meaning from the chaos rather than bringing purpose and meaning to it. Do you see the difference? What about the called man? The called man is this. The called man has found what makes him whole. And the called man is taking that into the chaos. Because in the beginning, God, Elohim bara, In the beginning, God, who had massive love and purpose, the Trinity existed before anything in this cosmos did. Love and purpose and meaning spoke into the chaos. They brought meaning into the chaos. Jesus brought purpose and meaning, and he took it into broken humanity. He brings it into it, and we are called to subcreate in the same vein as our Creator. So you go home and you look at your kids who drive you bananas. And you don't find your purpose from your children, you bring purpose to them. You go back to that accounting job. You don't find your purpose from that spreadsheet, you bring purpose to it. You go back to that job as a plumber or an electrician or a salesman, contractor, whatever it is you do. You don't find your purpose from it. That's not really what's happening. As a good follower of God, subcreating, you have found massive wholeness and love and being complete and made known before God. And that identity as being a loved, saved child of Jehovah. You are bringing that into your plumbing work, into your electrical work, into your... Do you get it? That's the perspective. You, my friends, my family, we're going to be together for eternity. My friends, my family, let me tell you, you have a new narrative. You are found. You have massive purpose. You were created out of love, and that love wants to soak deep into your soul, and that love you are called to bring to your subcreative work. Work is not the curse. I gotta be done, man. Always goes way too fast. All right, we're gonna do just a couple things. We're gonna be done here real fast. We need to say a couple of things out loud. Skip down to the say these things part, guys in the back. I'm gonna put up here the first statement. Don't say this out loud yet. I'm gonna read it to you, explain it, and then we're gonna say it out loud together. And we're gonna say three things out loud. The first one is this: I am infinitely more valuable than any temporal title or job. Okay, so I'm going to read this one more time. I'm going to explain it, then we're going to say it together. I am infinitely more valuable than any temporal title or job. Some of you need to say this defensively, and some of you need to say this offensively. Here's what I mean. Some of you right now, you have a degree. Like, you're kind of above everybody else. You have a degree, you're sitting on the PhD, you're sitting on the law degree, you're sitting on the medical degree, you're kind of sitting pretty above most culture. And so you need to make this statement defensively to guard your heart against a pride that will let you down one day. Some of you need to make this statement not defensively but offensively. You're sitting in a job or with a title that you might even be embarrassed of. You never even finished high school. And when people ask about education, it's like, I got my GED. You don't even want to say it out loud. And you need to say this, instead of saying it defensively, you need to say it offensively. Because here's the deal. Your value is not in a medical degree or a high school dropout. Your value is in the work of Jesus Christ. That price is your worth. And it's defensive and it's offensive on both sides of this. You got to protect your soul. You hear me? You got to protect your soul. So let's say this together. Are you ready? We're going to say this out loud. You need to speak it. You need to hear it. Speak it. Hear it. Here we go. I am infinitely more valuable than any temporal title or job. That's true, baby. If you're a medical doctor or you got your GED, this rescues you from pride and it rescues you from humiliation. This is your identity. That was the price. That's your worth. Next thing that we got to say out loud as we begin a right theology of work, next thing is this. My worth. All right, you don't say this out loud yet. Listen to me. My worth is not found in a job. We're going to continue the thought. Is not found in a job, but in being a loved child of God. You need to say this, right? So you heard me say it a second ago. Now you need to say this. Some of you need to say this offensively. Some of you need to say this defensively. Some of you need to say it to protect yourself from pride that will let you down. Some of you need to say it to rescue you from false humiliation. We're going to say this together. Are you ready? Okay, wake up. We're almost done. Hang with me. Let's do this. My worth is not found in a job, but in being a loved child of God. That's it. The last thing, we're going to say this out loud, then we're going to be done. Continuing the thought, we're trying to create a right trajectory of understanding. I'm going to read this out loud, then we're going to say it together. Here we go. I don't find worth from my work, I bring worth to it. I don't find worth from my work, I bring my worth to it. Okay, so when you say this, I want you to think this through in your head. You find your worth from the cross, from your relationship with God, from your prayer life. The more you soak in the identity that Christ says you are, that's who you find who you are. And then what you do is you take this awareness of who you are. You are the son and daughter of a king. You are princesses and princes. You have eternal life before you. You have so many great things and worth. And maybe you were born in brokenness with an absent father or a messed up home or a mom that was an addict. This temporal world may be a mess from you, but there is a greater worth spoken over you, and it's being spoken into right now, and you are going to lean into it even stronger for forever. And you need to know that's your worth, and you bring that worth to whatever job you're doing. All right, here we go. Let's say this together. Are you ready? I don't find my worth from my work. I bring my worth. That's the truth. Man, I got to be done. I'm 9 minutes, 10 minutes over. I love you all. I do, man, and I get so fired up because I care so deeply. I envision I see a better future for our people, where your hearts are set free, where you rest in your real worth, where hope, transcendent, glorious hope, beckons you and washes over you. I see this for you. I'm going to let Marcus close us out.
We just want to thank you so much for joining us online. If God's working in your heart, we would love to hear from you. Go to www.encountertrinity.com and make sure to look up our information and send us a message. We want to know what God's doing in your heart. We want you to know that you are loved by God and absolutely have a purpose.